What if I told you that some of America's most legendary off-grid states, the ones everyone swore were freedom havens, are now the places off-griders are running away from? And not slowly. I mean full speed, carrying their solar panels like suitcases levels of escape. Before we unpack why entire off-grid communities are bailing harder than a sinking canoe, go ahead and like this video. Because apparently, freedom is under attack, but your thumbs still work. And subscribe unless you want to miss out on the places where off-grid dreams still live, and the places where they go to die. Maybe you felt it too. The permits creeping in, the inspectors multiplying like forest squirrels. The new zoning rules written by people who think composting toilet is a war crime. Maybe your once quiet cabin now has neighbors who moved from the city and want an HOA because your chicken looked at them weird. Or maybe your favorite off-grid state suddenly decided it wants to modernize, which is political code for no fun, no freedom, and definitely no wood stoves. Off-grid life used to be simple: a piece of land, a roof, a few goats, and the government leaving you alone because they forgot you existed. But over the last 5 years, some states have changed so drastically that even the most seasoned off-griders are packing up their cabins, loading the truck, and saying, "Nope, not doing this. I didn't leave the city just to fill out more paperwork." So today, we're diving into the 9 states where off-griders are turning their backs and staging a quiet, slightly muddy, solar-powered mass exit. Not because the lifestyle changed, but because the states did. Let's start with the one that surprises almost everyone. Colorado used to be the off-grid promised land, the place where you could buy a cheap patch of sagebrush, slap some solar panels on a cabin that looked like it was built by raccoons, and call it freedom. For decades, off-griders fled here like it was the spiritual homeland of handmade compost toilets and questionable DIY wiring. But then, Colorado changed. And not in a cute, new coffee shop in town way. No, in a the county now wants to inspect your cabin's feelings way. Suddenly, the building codes multiplied like prairie dogs after a wet spring. Septic rules tightened until even earthship builders started sweating. Fire mitigation requirements became so strict that off-griders now spend half their week trimming shrubs and apologizing to pine needles. And if you thought your tiny home was safe, Colorado said, "That's adorable," and handed you a stack of paperwork thicker than your insulation. The vibe used to be, live free, build what you want, watch the sunset. Now it's, submit your engineered plans, elevation drawings, septic design, wildfire mitigation map, emergency access route, and emotional support affidavit for your composting toilet. Counties that once ignored you now send inspectors who hike miles into the woods like disappointed park rangers trying to find Bigfoot. And every year, more rural counties add new rules, because apparently freedom is fine as long as it's pre-approved, permitted, and painted in an earth tone color palette. So off-griders are leaving, not because they hate Colorado, they love it. They're leaving because the paperwork started feeling like a second job, and things only get messier as we head west. California used to be the off-grid fantasy board. Redwood forests, sunshine, mountain cabins, and enough space to pretend you're a frontier pioneer with a Wi-Fi addiction. But somewhere between the wildfires, the housing crisis, and 47 different environmental agencies discovering clipboards, the dream collapsed faster than a solar inverter in the rain. Living off-grid in California today feels like trying to start a campfire inside an Apple store. Everything is beautiful, everything is expensive, and someone is always telling you you're doing it wrong. First, the land prices. You'd think buying a scrubby hillside with no water, no road, and a mountain lion HOA would be cheap. No, that'll be $380,000, plus closing fees, plus a blood oath to the god of property taxes. And that's before you realize you need permits for literally everything. And I mean everything. Want solar? Permit? Want a shed? Permit? Want to sneeze near your compost pile? 7 permits and a Zoom meeting with a man named Brent who says phrases like, biodegradable violation. Then there's water. California is so precious about water rights that you practically need a lawyer to collect morning dew. Dig a well without permission, and congratulations. You've summoned the water police, who appear out of mist wearing Patagonia vests. But the real reason off-griders are fleeing is simple. The bureaucracy is relentless. You move here thinking you'll live free in nature, and suddenly you're arguing with a county inspector about whether your outhouse has the correct emotional alignment with the hillside. California didn't lose off-griders because they stopped loving nature. California lost them because they couldn't afford the invoice that came with it. And so, tired, broke, and clutching their dehydrated bank accounts, off-griders kept moving east until they hit Arizona. Arizona used to be the off-grid fantasy poster child. Endless sun, cheap desert plots, neighbors so far away you'd need binoculars just to be annoyed by them. For years, people flocked here with RVs, solar arrays, and dreams of building a tiny kingdom made entirely out of shipping containers. But then, reality showed up wearing sunglasses and carrying a gallon jug of rapidly evaporating water. Arizona's water situation went from kinda rough to your well just coughed dust. Entire regions tightened groundwater rules, counties rewrote usage limits, and suddenly everyone discovered you can't power your homestead dreams exclusively on vibes and sunshine. The state basically stood up and said, hey, maybe don't pump our aquifers like it's an all-you-can-drink soda bar. And if the water crisis wasn't enough, counties started cracking down on full-time RV living, long-term boondocking, and even temporary off-grid setups. People who thought they'd found freedom discovered surprise inspections, citations, and officials who appear out of nowhere like desert wizards with clipboards. One day, you're enjoying a peaceful sunrise over your land. The next, someone from the county is asking if your composting toilet is emotionally ready to comply with code. Add in the heat, the type that melts your hopes, dreams, and possibly parts of your truck, and Arizona stopped feeling like a refuge and started feeling like a survival challenge show no one signed up for. So off-griders kept moving, looking for cooler air, looser rules, and water that doesn't require a treasure map. But maybe the problem isn't the desert. Maybe it's the Southwest as a whole. Next stop, New Mexico. New Mexico used to be the promised land for off-griders. Wide open mesas, cheap land, a sky so big it made your problems look small, and absolutely nobody around to judge your solar setup or your questionable attempts at Adobe architecture. It was the place you moved when you wanted freedom, sunshine, and maybe a neighbor once every 11 miles. Then off-griders discovered it, all at once. What started as a quiet, spiritual, desert hermit kind of lifestyle slowly turned into a patchwork of improvised compounds, dome houses, half-finished cabins, and more converted school buses than a Burning Man parking lot. People came here to escape society and accidentally rebuilt a slightly dustier version of it. Earthship communities, once the mystical symbol of sustainable living, are now so overcrowded that inspectors show up more often than the windstorms. Counties that didn't care about anything suddenly care about everything. Septic requirements, gray water plans, proper roof angles, and whether your off-grid palace of tires and mud meets Section 14B of a rule written by someone who has never held a shovel. And the enforcement? It's rising like the desert heat. People who moved here to avoid neighbors now have entire mini-villages forming around them, complete with drum circles at 3 a.m., spiritual retreats that forgot to retreat, and someone trying to sell handmade kombucha from a converted goat shed. New Mexico didn't change, the population did. Too many off-griders, not enough off-grid. And as the rules tightened and the peace evaporated, many of them packed up their yurts and earthships and thought, okay, maybe I need an island, mentally. Which brings us to the next destination people thought would save them. Hawaii. Hawaii used to be the ultimate off-grid fantasy. Fruit falling from trees, ocean breezes instead of air conditioning, and wild chickens providing free alarm clock services at 4 a.m. Whether you were a hippie, a prepper, or someone who accidentally missed their return flight, Hawaii felt like the place where you could disappear into the jungle and live off sunlight, rainwater, and spiritual confidence. But that was 5 years ago. Now, Hawaii is paradise, with paperwork and taxes and inspectors who hike into the jungle with clipboards like they're filming Jurassic Park. Zoning edition. Land prices shot into the stratosphere, shipping costs doubled, and suddenly, even off-grid cabins needed permits for things that absolutely never needed permits. Want to collect rainwater? There's a rule. Want to use a composting toilet? Another rule. Want to build a tiny home on your own land? Congratulations. 5 agencies would like to speak with you, preferably in triplicate. And don't forget the paradise tax. Not an official tax, but an emotional one, where everything costs just a little more because you dared to dream. Groceries? Expensive? Fuel? Expensive? Tools for your solar setup? Hope you'd like paying mainland prices plus a crossing the ocean fee. Meanwhile, entire off-grid enclaves have been quietly pushed out by zoning crackdowns, environmental enforcement, and counties deciding that alternative living sounds poetic but looks messy on their spreadsheets. And yes, Hawaii is still stunning. The sunsets are illegal levels of beautiful. The beaches could convert a dentist into a poet. But off-griders started asking a tough question. Is freedom still freedom if it requires this much paperwork and a financial blood sacrifice at Costco? So they packed up their flip-flops, said aloha to the humidity, and headed back to the mainland, hoping the Pacific Northwest would save them. Washington used to be the quiet, off-grid refuge for people who loved pine trees, solitude, and wearing flannel unironically. It was the place where you could tuck a tiny cabin between 2 evergreens, disappear into the mist, and pretend the rest of America didn't exist. But lately, that mist has teeth and paperwork. First, the rain. Washington doesn't just get rain, it collects it like a hobby. Weeks of drizzle, months of soggy socks, entire seasons where your solar panels produce enough power to charge exactly 1 sad flashlight. Off-griders came here for tranquility, not to develop mold as a personality trait. Then the regulations tightened. Graywater systems used to be simple. Dig a trench, let nature handle the rest. Now counties want diagrams, soil studies, and possibly a seance to communicate with the groundwater spirits. Composting toilets? Technically allowed, until 5 different departments decide to review your setup like it's a suspicious science project. And the inspectors? Oh, they multiply. You could be 40 miles deep in the woods, surrounded by nothing but elk and regret, and somehow a county official will appear from the trees asking if your rainwater barrel is up to code. Sir, I haven't seen another human in 3 weeks. How did you get here? Washington is breathtaking, magical, cinematic. But living off-grid here now feels like trying to homestead inside a rainforest that's also doing an escape room puzzle with you as the prisoner. And so, many off-griders packed up their soggy dreams and moved 1 state south, hoping things would improve. Spoiler, they didn't. Welcome to Oregon. Oregon used to be the off-grid fantasy poster child. Mossy forests, gentle rain, friendly deer who look like they do yoga on weekends. It felt like the state where you could build a tiny cabin, raise some goats, grow questionable vegetables, and disappear into a life of serene Pacific Northwest freedom. But lately, Oregon's been acting like the hall monitor of off-grid living. And not the cool hall monitor, the one who writes you up for walking with intention. Across multiple counties, the attitude has shifted from, sure, build your cabin in the woods, to, hold on, where's your engineered septic, your architectural drawings, your report proving your composting toilet has a college degree? Some counties have gone even harder, outright banning year-round off-grid cabins on rural land unless they meet full residential code, which defeats the entire purpose of off-grid living. That's like telling someone they can camp, but only if their tent has granite countertops and passes a fire inspection. Even RV or yurt living, once totally accepted in Oregon's rural pockets, now comes with limits, time restrictions, or temporary use-only labels. If you stay too long, someone with a clipboard eventually materializes from the mist to inform you that your rustic dream violates subsection B12 of something nobody has ever voluntarily read. And the irony? The Oregon vibe still looks off-grid friendly. It's peaceful, green, mystical, until you try to build anything more permanent than a poetry journal. So off-gridders started drifting east, chasing places where the rules weren't tightening like a pair of wet hiking boots. And for many, the next hope was big sky country, Montana. Montana used to be the off-grid promised land. Big skies, bigger freedom, and enough empty space to build 5 cabins, 3 barns, and a meditation hut where no one could hear you scream about property taxes. For decades, off-griders swore this state was the real deal. You could buy land cheap, haul in some solar panels, dig a well, and boom, frontier mode activated. But then the world discovered Montana, and Montana has not recovered since. Land prices didn't just rise, they skyrocketed like someone tried to launch the entire state into orbit. A parcel that once cost the price of a used chainsaw now requires selling an organ and possibly naming your firstborn Beaufort Big Sky III. And that's before you factor in building requirements, septic rules, and the wildfire regulations that read like a dystopian novel written by a very nervous insurance company. But the real problem? Winter. And not just winter, but winter. The kind that slaps newcomers in the face so hard they start apologizing to their wood stove. Montana cold has personality. It has ambition. It has the kind of energy that makes your solar panels produce 0.001 watts, while a snowdrift casually moves into your living room and asks if you have any snacks. Every year, hopeful off-griders arrive dreaming of rugged simplicity. And every year, a portion of them flee the state by February, pale, traumatized, and whispering, "I didn't know snow could grow." Still, people try. Montana is stunning. But between the soaring land prices and winters that actively bully your existence, many off-griders finally look around and say, you know what? Maybe freedom shouldn't require surviving a yearly ice apocalypse. And so they head north, or rather, too far north, to the final frontier they thought would save them: Alaska. Alaska used to be the off-grid holy land, the final frontier, the place where you could build a cabin, chop wood, grow a beard of legendary proportions, and feel like you were starring in your own Discovery Channel show. For decades, off-griders dreamed of Alaska like city people dream of brunch. But the reality? Alaska looked back and said, "Oh, you want freedom? Cute. Let's see if you survive the week." Here's the thing. Alaska is breathtaking, it's majestic, it's raw, untouched wilderness, and it does not care about your feelings, or your solar panels, or your tiny home with fairy lights and rainwater catchment. Because for half the year, the sun barely exists, and your panels produce about 3 electrons and a prayer. And the costs. If you think Hawaii is expensive, Alaska laughs in snow-covered superiority. Fuel? High. Groceries? Higher. Everything else? Hope you like ramen and self-reliance. Shipping a single metal pipe can cost more than your truck. Then there's the remoteness. You don't just run to the store. You run to the store the way a migrating caribou runs, by planning, strategizing, and possibly checking flight schedules. And the winters? If Montana is tough love, Alaska is the final boss. We're talking life-altering cold. Cars freeze, batteries die, compost toilets turn into sculptures. Bears wander through your yard like they own the place, because they do. So even the toughest off-griders, the ones who could survive a zombie apocalypse armed only with a pocket knife and spite, are looking at Alaska and going, yeah, no, I like freedom, but I also like having toes. And with that, Alaska joins the list. Not because it isn't incredible, but because even freedom has limits when the thermometer says, why are you like this? Some people still ask, why are off-griders leaving these states? Didn't they used to be the dream? Yes, they were. Colorado was the frontier. California was the promise. Arizona was the escape. New Mexico was the experiment. Hawaii was the paradise. Washington was the refuge. Oregon was the haven. Montana was the wild. Alaska was the legend. But states change. Rules change. Costs change. And somewhere between the zoning meetings, the permit fees, the inspections, the droughts, the wildfires, the price of land, and the "you can't build that here" letters, something broke. Not the lifestyle, the freedom that built it. Off-griders never wanted luxury. They wanted space. They wanted dignity. They wanted to wake up without wondering whether today's fresh new regulation TM would outlaw their water tank, their wood stove, their gray water bucket, or their entire existence. And over the last 5 years, too many freedom states turned into places where you need a consultant, a binder, and the patience of a medieval monk just to build a shed. So the mass exit isn't about giving up, it's about moving on. Because off-grid life isn't a location, it's a principle, a belief that you can take care of yourself, live simply, breathe freely, and not have to file taxes for your compost pile. And if the old havens are fading, new ones are rising. Places where the laws are lighter, the land is cheaper, and the government is still blissfully unaware that you exist. Ready to find them? So now you know why off-griders are fleeing these once legendary states faster than a compost bin attracts fruit flies. But here's the good news. Not every corner of America is turning hostile. Some places are becoming more off-grid friendly, cheaper, freer, and way less interested in regulating your goat. Click the next video where we dive into the states where off-grid life is still alive, legal, and gloriously unbothered. Go on, unless you want your next permit application to be 47 pages long. Freedom's waiting. Freedoms.